Uh, my name is Omalawa for all those that wanna know. Got a YouTube Snap and Insta that I named the Omo Show, where I clearly spit the flow, show you around the life I chose. So add me if you wanna see how far the story goes. Peace, family. Welcome to the Omo Show. I'm Omo, the Afrocentric creatress, here to raise the vibrations of the entire Black nation. And because it is Tuesday, it's Real Talk Tuesday. So I was gonna do a video on what integration did for Black people. Before I even start my content, I want everybody to know your opinions are valid. They really are. If you want to express them in my comments, you really can. But I will say this that I'm about to say is based on fact. And I mean, my opinions is there too, but it's based on fact. You can't argue facts, okay? So if you want to express your opinion, but please don't try to make it seem as if what I'm saying is not valid when I know that it is. Cool? All right. Growing up, I was taught in school to believe that Martin Luther King's method for liberation or freedom for Black folks was the best way, while Malcolm X's was not. I was taught to love Martin Luther King, but then hate Malcolm X. And this was all subconsciously. This wasn't outward or anything like that. It was just something that they subconsciously did. Through movies, through our history books, through everything that I saw, documentaries, they made us believe, me and those who I went to school with, and I did go to a predominantly Black school at the time, that's going to come around later. They made us believe that Martin Luther King was better than Malcolm X. With that being said, as I got older and I started to be in my more Black knowledge and started thinking about Black liberation, not really the world's liberation, but what's best for us Black people as a whole people, I realized that Martin Luther King's methods weren't as effective as people try to make them seem. And at that time, I had like a lot of ill feelings or animosity towards Martin Luther King, because I was like, yeah, you the one who brought us here. Yeah, you the reason that we in this country and we still struggling. Cause integration ain't do nothing for us, but just made us slaves even more. Right? And I mean, those feelings were kind of valid to a certain extent. But what I learned now as I move forward is that Martin Luther King was a necessary part of our evolution, of our revolution, of our liberation. Because without Martin Luther King, we wouldn't have known that integration was nothing of what we thought. I think that before, if we would have never integrated, we would have thought that the grass was actually greener on the other side. And now we get to realize that the grass actually looks like boo-boo on this side. And that maybe that African grass has always been greener. Literally. But otherwise, we would have always thought of what it's like to go to the white schools, what it's like to be an employee of this big white business, what it's like to, we would have just always had this hopeful, wishful thinking of, but I think that this was important for us to know that integration does not work. It does not liberate Black people. It does not serve our interests. It never was. This country's setup was never there to serve our interests. Knowing that now is what will take us to that next step, because it's all guess and check. We all here making experiments or whatever the case may be. That was what was necessary in order for us to make that next step into our liberation, which is separation, which is Black businesses, which is monopolizing Black dollars, Black everything into one space so that we can grow economically, emotionally, socially, and all the above. Integration, when integration happened, well, before integration, at the end of slavery, white folks were so much hating that they didn't want Black people to work for them. They didn't want us to even be a part of their businesses. So Black folks was like, okay, cool. You don't want us to be a part of this? Well, we gonna just create our own then. Well, I ain't gonna say that they were cool with it, but I'm just saying that because we weren't allowed into white spaces, we decided to make all of our own businesses. Meaning that we had economics. We had so much economic freedom at that time, given that we had our own businesses and we were spending money with our own people. It was ridiculous. What integration did, though, is that all black folks, well, I'm not gonna say all black folks, but many black folks left those businesses, left being a worker for that business, left those schools, left their whole black life behind in order to join this white life, hoping that it would be better, thinking that it would be better, but then later realizing that honestly it's not better at all. If we were to keep our black businesses going, then we would have had black economics. If we were to keep our black schools going, we could have created a education system around who we are as people, instead of reading that same American history book that the white folks reading down the street. And that's pretty much why I was taught, even in a predominantly black school, who to think was right and who to think was wrong. Because I went to, though, a predominantly black school, it doesn't mean that it's under a predominantly or a black system. It's under the American system, meaning that the curriculum, the books, all of those things are the same as what white people are reading. And can we honestly say that we should be reading the same history as white people? Personally, I cannot say that. I don't think that we should. I know we shouldn't, because our histories are not the same. I am not the American that was sitting up here doing all this to the other people. I shouldn't be reading this history as if it's me. A lot of the things that they talk about in these history books, I realize now that I'm older, I'm up here rooting for whatever side of the American government without realizing I was enslaved the whole time. But if only we had our own system set up for our own knowledge and education as black folks, then we would know where we fit in the mix of everything. Going to white schools, predominantly white schools, leaving the black community where your home is, can really, really make a person uncomfortable. I went to a predominantly black high school, middle school, and everything else, but when I got to college, I went to a predominantly white school, which was no different from really the predominantly black school, because again, curriculum, Americanized curriculum. Only difference is that I see all these white faces and I don't feel comfortable being enough to be myself. I don't feel comfortable enough to just be free. I don't feel myself. I feel like I gotta be something else in that space. I'm not talking about me, I'm just saying us in general. This is how many of us feel. This is not how I felt in college. I was an African American Studies major, and I was in a classroom with all black folks for the most part, and I loved it. But anyway, that is how many of us feel. So it's like, why integrate into something that diminishes our own power economically, socially, but also emotionally? Like, why integrate into something that takes our money away? Because the way it used to be is that we'll have black businesses. So with black businesses, say we work for a black business, then we get paid. Then we could only shop with black business. So now the dollar is circulating within the black community. And it doesn't leave. But now what we do is we work for white people, we give our money to white people, and we left with nothing as a people. We don't have anything. So yes, I could say that integration was a mistake, but I'm not going to say that. Yes, if we never integrated, we would have so many more black dollars. We would be the most financially successful people in this world right now, given that we have the crafts and skills and the talents that they use while they are the business owners. But now everything is a learning lesson. So as we move forward, we must understand that if we really, really want liberation, if we really, really, really want to be liberated, if we really want our freedom, then we have to be able to do for self. Bottom line. There is no way around it. There is no way around being able to do it for yourself. Having your own businesses, being self-sufficient, self-sustainable. If we're not self-sustainable, there is no freedom to happen. So now it is that we understand that black separation is the only answer to black liberation. And it's not segregation. Segregation and separation are two different things. Segregation is separate and unequal. That's what segregation is. It's when you allow still the white man to tell you which books you can have, which ones you can't, tell you where you gonna go and have your education, where you not, all that kind of stuff. But separation is saying black folks decide, yo, we moving back to Africa, or yo, we gonna take this whole part of the South, or yo, we are choosing the life that we're going to live, and we're gonna build our finances. We're gonna build our own books. You're not gonna give us some trashy books, but we're gonna build our own books Because right now we're at that time where we really, really, really need to remake or to write down our history at all as black people, because we haven't been writing the history books, and we need to be the ones writing the history books. And the only way that we can write the history books and actually share that information with the black masses is if we actually do have an education system, or we have systems set up for only black people. Because otherwise it's going to seem as like a hate thing, but it's not a hate thing. It should be a set in stone for a group of people to want to know about themselves. Like, what do we look like looking at the same history book as a white man when we don't share that same history? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. What do we look like looking at the same book as the white man that says American history, which makes us feel like as Africans we've only been in this country since we've been in America. If we actually did have our own history books, we could take our history back all the way to Africa, over to here, over to every land that Africans ever went to. Our history would just look different. We can be more connected with our people if only we told the story. So that's all to say, integration did not do us any good if we actually thought about it. I'm sorry, I can think about it myself. And what did it really do? Honestly, what did integration do to benefit black people? Everything that integration did, oh, well, they have access to this education and this and this. And we already had access to those things. But we left it in order to fit into this white system. And then ever since then, we've been trying to become something that we're not in order just to have the satisfaction and the benefits that white Americans have within this country, without realizing that regardless of how much money you have, regardless of if you're working for them, regardless if you're going to school for them, they are never going to see you as them. And we aren't them. So, like I said, I know everybody's not going to agree with this message that I just had, but it is what it is. You know, moving forward, I'm focusing on establishing myself and my people so that we own the grocery stores, that we own the gas stations, we own every single business that exists within our community, so that way we can actually have some money, circulate a dollar, have black wealth, you know. But right now it's not working with us constantly giving our monies away, you know, and constantly not knowing what we're worth or value, or what our value is. That's artists, you know. Artists within the record labels and stuff like that. You got white record label owners of hip-hop record labels. And like I say, giving our talent away while they make the big dollars, and then they give us a little cut of what our worth is. It doesn't make any logical sense. And people who are not your people are not going to have your best interest in mind. They're going to have their best interest in mind. So at least, I'm not going to say every black person is going to have every black person's interest in mind. But my goal, one of my goals of many things, I have many goals, but one of them is to actually create a black record label that has all types of hip-hop artists. And I really want to be righteous around it. Like, I want us to fairly get what it is that we earn. You know, I want it to be an independent label. You know, many things that surround it. And I feel like if we start planning these ideas, if we start really trying to have the mind of business owners instead of employees of white people, then we'll be so much more successful. So much more successful. All right, that's my story. Just in case y'all wanted to meet my nephew, he's down playing. This is my nephew KJ Kimball Jr. That's him. Hey, say hey to people. Yeah, he don't really care about y'all. He was playing. But all right, y'all. I love you. Peace, love, black power all day, every day. Ain't no other way. As I said before, white power for white people, brown power for brown people, yellow power for yellow people, and black power for black people. This is not a hate video. This has nothing to do with me trying to hate on somebody else or hate anybody else. I just know that every people deserves to have their own. Every people deserves to feel powerful. Every people deserves to feel liberated and free to make their own decisions. And part of that is economics. And integration has so much to do with economic power. And separation has so much to do with economic power. We sell to our own. we create our own, we'll be in a better position. So like I say, peace, love, black power all day, every day. Ain't no other way, okay?